but I believe in straight answers. I like straight answers and breakfast food. And there are only two possibilities here. Either President Biden and his team believe in open borders, or the people that the president has put in charge of the immigration policy for this country are not qualified to manage a food truck. And nobody's that incompetent. You folks believe in open borders, don't you?
Sir, I think we believe in secure borders.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Morant, since President Biden's been president, how many non-American citizens have come into our country illegally or on the basis of a claim of asylum?
Thank you, Senator. HSI is an investigative agency.
Do you know the number?
No, Senator.
You're a senior member of Homeland Security, are you not?
That's correct.
Does anybody know the number? None of you know the number. Try 8 million. Now, of that 8 million, how many were children, Mr. Morant?
I don't have that number.
You don't know. Does anybody know? None of you know. Isn't that special? Let's assume half. Okay, 8 million is 4 Nebraskas, right? 4 new states. Let's assume, I don't think it's as high, half of them are children. How many of those 8 million people are still here? Do any of you know? Okay. How many of those 8 million are claiming asylum? You don't know? How many of them claim asylum and don't show up for their hearing? Nobody knows. How many of them claim asylum, don't show up for the hearing, and President Biden has deported them? You don't know? How many of them have claimed asylum, shown up for their asylum hearing, and been denied asylum and been deported? You don't know. How many of them were from Mexico? You don't know. How about 30%? That means 70% were not, right? Surely you know the answer to that. 30% minus 100% is 70%. Am I right? Okay, 30% came from Mexico. Why don't you implement a safe third country policy that says under asylum, under our asylum rules, you have to seek asylum in the first safe country. So if you come, say, from Venezuela or Nicaragua or another Central American country, you have to seek asylum in the first safe country. Why don't you do that? And then that would eliminate 70% of the 8 million. That's 5.6 million. Why don't you do that, Mr. Morant?
Is that a question, sir?
Yes. All I've been asking are questions.
That's beyond the purview of HSI.
Oh, okay. How about you, Mr. Salazar? You're a former advisor to the vice president. How come we don't do a safe third country agreement?
Sir, we're working with our partners in the region. 21 countries signed on to the Los Angeles Declaration.
Have you done a safe third country agreement? You've had, what have you been at it, 2 years?
What we are doing is working with them to expand legal pathways.
Why doesn't President Biden get up in the morning tomorrow and say, we're changing the asylum process and we're doing what most other countries do, safe third country policy. You have to seek asylum. We support asylum. We have to seek asylum in the first safe country. That would eliminate 5.6 million people, boom, done, coming into our country illegally, wouldn't it?
Sir, I just want to point out Washington.
Wouldn't it?
It would, sir, but there are activities underway.
Let me ask you this, because I'm going to run out of time. President Biden and all of you believe in open borders, don't you? Don't you? I mean, I ask really basic questions. I don't mean any disrespect. I appreciate you being here. And I know you all love our country, as we all do. But I believe in straight answers. I like straight answers and breakfast food. And there are only two possibilities here. Either President Biden and his team believe in open borders, or the people that the president has put in charge of the immigration policy for this country are not qualified to manage a food truck. And nobody's that incompetent. You folks believe in open borders, don't you?
Sir, I think we believe in secure borders.
You believe in all, then you don't even know how, well, I'm going to take 30 more seconds. You don't even know how many people have come in illegally since President Biden has been president. You're a former senior advisor to the Vice President of the United States, Mr. Salazar. And you can't even give me a number?
No, sir.
That's like going to an oncologist and asking him, what's cancer? And he says, I don't know. Give me a break.
Senator Welch?
Thank you. I thank the witnesses. Just speaking to my friend Senator Kennedy,
It begins with a question that sounds less like inquiry and more like indictment. Since President Biden's been president, how many non-American citizens have come into our country illegally or on the basis of a claim of asylum? Silence. Shuffling. A tight camera on a witness table. Do you know the number? No. Senator John Kennedy leans in. You're a senior member of Homeland Security, are you not? That's correct. He tries again. Does anybody know the number? Heads shake. Try 8 million, he supplies, his voice flat with certainty. And then he escalates the arithmetic into a picture. 4 Nebraskas, 4 new states. He keeps pressing the ledger. How many were children? How many are still here? How many claim asylum? How many don't show up? How many were deported? And every time he asks for steel, he gets air. The line lands like a gavel. Isn't that special? What unfolds is a ritual of democratic oversight stripped down to its nerves. Kennedy frames the stakes in raw math, then in policy. If 30% came from Mexico, he says, then 70% did not. Why not a safe third country rule? Seek refuge in the first safe nation you enter. Boom, done, 5.6 million eliminated from the flow. Across the table, an HSI official defers. It's beyond his purview. Another witness, a former advisor to the vice president, reaches for regional diplomacy. The Los Angeles Declaration, 21 countries, expanding legal pathways. Kennedy isn't buying the future tense. Why doesn't President Biden get up in the morning tomorrow and say we're changing the asylum process? The exchange hardens. You folks believe in open borders, don't you? He asks. The answer comes like a reflex. We believe in secure borders. It doesn't blunt the blade. That's like going to an oncologist and asking him what's cancer, and he says, I don't know. Give me a break. This is more than a clash of personalities. It is a referendum on what competence looks like in a system that depends on both data and discretion. On one side, a senator insisting that numbers are the minimum price of credibility. If you cannot state how many came, how many stayed, how many claimed asylum, and what happened next, then how can you claim the border is secure? On the other side, officials bound by lanes, investigators who don't set asylum doctrine, policy hands who do not unilaterally flip statutes, trying to explain a continental policy problem in the grammar of intergovernmental accords and legal process. The camera makes the asymmetry cruel. One man wields a line of questions that feel like common sense. The others reply with jurisdiction, with process, with what cannot be answered in sound bites without caveat. To a nation exhausted by caveat, caveat sounds like evasion, and yet underneath the theater lies the scaffolding of law. Asylum is not a mood, it is statute, treaty, case law. Safe third country arrangements are not slogans, they are negotiated instruments, bound to reciprocal obligations and judicial review. The simple arithmetic Kennedy deploys is meant to reveal the gap between human scale and policy scale. 8 million is a number, It is also border agents and court backlogs and migration patterns that move with drought, cartel pressure, and political collapse. But the moral question is simpler than the system. Does the government know what it is doing? Does it know the inputs, the throughputs, the outcomes? If it does, can it say so plainly? If it does not, why not? Kennedy's line, "Either you believe in open borders, or the people in charge aren't qualified to manage a food truck," is not a policy argument. It is a legitimacy test. He is not merely weighing an agency's performance. He is measuring whether the public should trust the custodians at all. That is why the failure to cite numbers matters so much in this room. Data is not decoration. Data is the visible proof that someone is driving. When the answers come back in diffusions, purview, process, partnership, the message that lands with viewers is not the delicate reality of federal lanes. It is that the cockpit is fogged. And yet the hearing also exposes the second truth of governance. Outrage cannot substitute for architecture. A president cannot get up in the morning tomorrow and unilaterally rewrite asylum law without Congress and courts. Regional compacts do not materialize at the snap of a senator's frustration. The border is not a valve that moral clarity alone can turn. The American system was designed to frustrate speed. The tragedy is that the pressures at the border exploit slowness like a weak seam. So we arrive at the heart of the matter. Justice is not only about what the law says, it is about whether the people believe the law can be administered with competence and fairness. Morality is not only compassion for the migrant or security for the citizen, it is also honest accounting of how many arrive, how many qualify, how many return, how many remain. Government fails when it loses count. Government fails when it loses candor. Government fails when it hides behind process in a moment that requires the dignity of straight talk. Kennedy's motif, "I like straight answers and breakfast food," is folksy, almost tossed off, but it carries a heavier charge. Straight answers are the democratic diet. Without them, the body politic gets sick. The official who says, "It's beyond my purview," may be telling the truth. But the government that cannot find one person with a ledger at the table is telling a larger truth, that the state has grown so differentiated that responsibility dissolves on contact. Our system needs both, the humility of lanes and the courage to step forward with facts. As the chair yields to the next senator, you can feel the unresolvedness hanging in the lights. The questions will be asked again. The numbers will be demanded again. The policy fights over asylum's threshold, over safe third country filters, over what secure actually measures, will continue. But hearings like this are more than skirmishes. They are mirrors. And the reflection tonight is stark. America expects its government to count, to explain, to defend. And when it cannot, a vacuum opens and faith recedes. The moral is not complicated. A nation that polices its borders must also police its truth. Precision is not pedantry. It is respect. Respect for citizens who deserve clarity. Respect for migrants whose fates should not be swallowed by a statistical shrug. Respect for the rule of law, which can only command obedience if it can command understanding. Numbers are how a free people hold power to account. This is Congress' signal. We do this to keep the record clear, the arguments honest, and the stakes unmistakable. If you believe sunlight is the beginning of reform, If you want more of these hearings stripped clean of spin and stitched tight with context, subscribe to Congress Signal and support our work to expose the truth.